հաղորդման հովանավոր Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital։
I'm Dr. Kalus Dukar. I'm a blood and cancer specialist at Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital. Many times I talk to my patients and they tell me that they are having bleeding and they don't pay attention to it. Blood is red. It's just like the red light in traffic. It tells you stop and pay attention. It's no different. So if you see blood coming from anywhere, seek attention. There's something wrong.
Սեր պայգամներ այսօրվա մեր հայդակիրն է Կալիֆորնիա նահանգային ընդրություններու մասին գավառների ռեյսին համար եւ մեր հյուրն է Ջան Չենգը, որ նահանգի treasurer-ն է։ Եվ մենք իսկապես ուրախ ենք, որ այսօր Mr. Chiang-ը, բարոն Chiang-ը ներկա է մեզի հետ եւ պիտի խոսենք ասնդրություններու մասին, որ պիտի գայանա նոյեմբերին։
Ջոն Չանգ, Կալիֆորնիա նահանգի Գանձապա, նահանգապետի թեկնածու, հավատում է, որ Կալիֆորնիայում բնակվող յուրաքանչյուր ոք իրավունք ունի իր ամերիկյան երազանքը գտնելու։ Այս պարզ գաղափարը դրդում է նրան գործադրել բոլոր հնարավոր ջանքերը, որպեսզի նահանգի ամեն մի բնակչի համար հասանելի լինեն բարձրակարգ կրթությունն ու բուրսպասարկումը, ինչպես նաև ստեղծվեն առավել բարենպաստ աշխատանքային պայմաններ։ Ջան Չանգը բացահայտել եւ կանխարգելել է ամենատարբեր մեքենայությունների արդյունքում հարկատուների վճարած միլիարդավոր դոլարների հանցավոր շահագործում եւ կորուստ, պայքարել է տեղական ղեկավար մարմինների շրջանակում ծավալվող կոռուպցիայի դեմ, զգալիորեն ընդլայնել է պետական պաշտոնյաների գործունեության եւ եկամուտների թափանցիկությունը, նախաձեռնել եւ անց է կացրել կենսաթոշակային մի շարք բարեփոխումներ, ինչպես նաեւ մատչելի բնակարանային ապահովման ծրագրեր։ Միացյալ Նահանգներում բարեկեցիկ ապագա որոնող գաղթականների որդին բարձր է գնահատում նահանգի հարուստ մշակութային բազմազանության ներուժը եւ վստահ է, որ ամերիկյան երազանքը կարելի է կառուցել միմիայն հավասարության հիմունքների վրա։
I don't remember the first time it happened, but I'll never forget how painful it was for my family. They threw rocks at our windows, spray painted our garage, and started fights with us on the playground. My dad came over from Taiwan in the 1950s with little money to his name. We were the first Asian American family on our block. We were taunted, ridiculed, but I remember my mom saying, "We just need to show them that we are good people." I think it's why I've always rooted for the underdog. The single mom, the dad working a double shift, kids who dream of a brighter future. They're my motivation. They're why I fought so hard to steady the ship during the recession. Why I stood up to the Wall Street banks that preyed upon them. Why I helped finance thousands of affordable housing units. And why I refused to let the governor cut the pay of hardworking Californians. In the face of adversity, we cannot waver from our convictions. We have to stand up, speak up, and defend the values our nation was built on. We have to lead by example. When you have been trusted to serve, you don't make excuses, you don't throw stones, you build bridges. You remember where you came from, and you see the good in people. You make progress every day with a vision for the future and the guts to make it happen.
Okay, պայգամներ, այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է բարոն Ջան Չենգը։ Welcome, Mr. Chiang, to our show.
Thank you for having me on your program.
Election is coming very close now. It's only, less than 6 months maybe?
Less than 70 days.
70 days.
Less than 70 days.
70
yes.
days. Oh, the primaries. That's what.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about. How are you doing?
We're doing very well. We're making extraordinary progress. Over the last month or so, we picked up some very robust endorsements from Linda Sanchez in the San Gabriel Valley to Mark Takano in Riverside. So we're making dramatic progress.
The latest polls that I was looking at them is putting you a little bit behind. Any reason for that at this stage in the game?
Well, a lot of the polls have it all over the board. So some polls had me tied for second, and some had me a little bit behind. Most of them had me within the statistical margin error of second place. And this is a top two primary.
Yeah, right.
Top two primary. So we're doing very robustly. And then in fundraising, we're second. So it will start to change very dramatically in about a month when people are going to spend tens of millions of dollars between all the campaigns. You're going to see a roller coaster, right? Some people, as those campaigns resonate with the voters of California, they'll go up, others will go down. And unfortunately, as in most campaigns, there's going to be some attacks, some true, some false. But it's very important. Your viewers are very intelligent. Pay attention. What's of value to you? What qualities do you want in your elected officials? Do they bring integrity and trust to the process? And who has a record?
You have a tremendous record. I mean, you've been a public servant for many, many years, serving the state of California. What is your team in this election? What's the reason you decided to run for governor?
Well, thank you. Right, I've had the incredible fortune of meeting your mom, and
she's supporting you, by the way.
Thank
she's
you.
going to vote for you.
Oh, thank you very kindly. I feel extraordinarily blessed, right? I have a great mom too. And so when you have parents, in my case, who made extraordinary sacrifices, they came to America in the 1950s separately, with not much in resources, like your story. My dad had 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, not much money, and your story is very compelling, right?
Same thing, in the 70s, my dad came with nothing, basically.
Trying to rub dimes together to try to make it work, but America is the most aspirational place on earth, and so I'm not blessed with my own biological children, but I do have 8 godchildren, and I want to make sure that my 8 godchildren, your beautiful daughter, have the very best California available to them. Right, I want to make sure that people are challenging the California dream today. I want to make sure that we do the things that when people think about where is the very best place, this place we call home, California, is in fact the best place to get an education, to raise a family, to start a business.
What are the hot button issues? I know the state for a very long time fiscally was broke. Now we have a surplus. I mean, over $6 billion. So what is your plan if you become the governor, let's say?
Well, first, we need to build more housing. More
housing?
Yes. We know that despite the fact that we've had a dramatic recovery since that last recession, we had a $27 billion cash deficit. We had about a $27 billion budgetary deficit, $30 billion cash deficit. We wiped that out, but we still have other obligations. We know that right, the field that you're in, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Yeah, and then the infrastructure, right, all the earthquake upgrades, retrofits that need to be is going to be extraordinarily expensive. We know that our roadways are significantly underinvested. We know that we saw with Oroville Dam, our water structures need to be updated. And so there's a lot of work in regards to infrastructure that the state, working with local communities and both the public and private sector, need to make sure, because if you can't have a third world infrastructure and be the world's 6th largest economy in the future.
Governor Brown been very fiscally conservative guy. I mean, he kept the state's budget, in check, plus having surplus. So what is your plan? Are you a fiscally conservative guy? Being a treasurer in the state.
I don't use that word fiscally conservative. Fiscally responsible.
Responsible, maybe.
Yeah, my record is one of fiscal responsibility, because I do believe in spending. My parents, they spent money. They're not wild, right? My mom tried to save every nickel, but she said, we're going to spend money on food, right? You have to nourish the family. We're going to spend money, most importantly, on education, because you're not going to go anywhere. That's why my parents immigrated to this country, to get advanced education, and obviously you have to have housing.
Mm-hmm. The election, let's take, obviously Lieutenant Governor started the process. He's ahead in the polls now. Why do you think that's the case?
Oh, he's most well known. So he's
from
the Bay Area.
Bay Area, right.
Yeah, and then so he's well known in the Bay Area, and so, but He's known by over 70% of the voters. The former mayor of Los Angeles is known by over 50% of the voters. I'm known by over 30% of the voters. I have the highest approvals to disapprovals of the candidates, but my job over the next 68 days is to make sure that I build my name identification. When we remind people that during that financial crisis, it was me who helped make sure that the state didn't go off the fiscal cliff. I was the one who didn't pay the legislature because we know that so many individuals were impacted when the governor, former governor and legislature did not balance the budget. And so I want to make sure that when they hear that message, they want somebody who's going to invest in the important things in their lives, but also make sure that we don't get into another difficult financial situation like we did in 2008, 2009.
What is your vision for California? If you've been given this opportunity to be elected to be the governor for the largest state in the union, what is your vision? Yeah,
that's the perfect question, Mike. It's to make sure that every person feels that California provides them with the opportunity.
It's a dream for us.
It's the dream.
Immigrant coming here 40 years ago.
Exactly.
It's been a dream to come to California.
We want to make sure that they feel that California provides them with that dream. Right, it's not all that complicated. You want a great community that you can live in, right? Your family feels safe, you enjoy your neighbors, you can take your kids to local school, you're not stuck in traffic like you were trying to get here this evening. Whether your kids play soccer or they play violin, you want magnificent opportunities. Individuals who work really hard, especially you see a lot of it today in California with the immigrant communities from individuals who come from all across the globe, whether they want to start a technology-based company or whether they want to start a ethnic food company. Whatever their heart's content, we want that to be the California for them.
So it is a dream. I mean, is the California dream still alive today?
Yeah, I think
someone moving into California as an immigrant or as just moving from another state, is that dream still alive, which was for me and my family 40 years ago?
The dream is very much alive, but we have to make it easier. We know that housing prices oftentimes scare people away. This is a prime real estate, so we're going to have to figure out how we're smarter with our resources so that we can build more affordable housing. It's an area that I've been focused on. As the state treasurer, in my first year in office, I visited with people from the nonprofit community, from the building communities, from the workers, to say what can we do with the state's rules so that we can increase housing availability, increase housing stock. In my second year, we increased the building of new and rehabilitated housing by 83%. But we have a long way to go to get there. We have to work on, how do we make sure that the cost of higher education isn't as expensive as it is today, right? We really ramped up the prices during that last recession, and then we have too many students who are graduating with massive debt. And when they're in debt, right, they're not saving for their retirement, they're not saving for that first home, and some are delaying that decision to start a family. So let's try to build a strong economic and financial foundation. And then you've worked on this social inclusion. Right, we're extraordinarily blessed, right? I feel incredibly blessed that so many people get to share their culture, they get to share their history. That's what makes America, and that's what especially makes California very unique and different than other places on the globe.
A couple of points, which is, it's kind of universal, maybe applies some of it to me and my business, taxes. I hear it from many colleagues and friends. We have the highest taxes in the nation. Are you going to do anything about it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to make sure you get bang for your buck, right? I think Californians will pay taxes. They just want to make sure they get value for it, right? The people will invest, but it's like they'll say, hey, if we have, if we're one of the top 10 in regards to tax rates in the United States of America, how come our roads are in the conditions they are? How come? Right. How come
infrastructure? We need, some infrastructure. I see it on the highways. There's potholes everywhere. I mean, that needs to be all fixed.
Right. They talk about the costs to the average family, with our road conditions being $800 plus a year. So we have to do a lot more work to make sure that we upgrade that. What's happening in our schools? How come, some schools perform very well and other schools don't perform very well, right? So I've pushed very aggressively greater accountability, greater transparency, and I will do so as governor. As the state controller in my previous position, I did $9.5 billion of audit findings. Some people remember the corruption in the city of Bell, the concerns about the city of Montebello, the improper activity with the Los Angeles Community College District and their construction program. Those were the audits that I conducted in my prior position. So
you were a tough guy when after these people who are cheating the system and taking advantage of taxpayers.
Yeah, I just wanted to be, as you pointed out, a good, tough fiscal watchdog. Make sure that we restore trust in the system.
The other point, which is dear to me, and I see it in our business very clearly in healthcare, is regulations. And it takes so long to build a hospital or to build any infrastructure to OSHPA and the process. Are you going to do anything to help hospitals and healthcare industry?
We have to. We have to. What I would do is I would bring the experts, convene the experts together, and a lot of the legislation is very well intended, but it may not be well designed, right? You have good intent. Each of the rules by themselves each of the laws make good sense, but when you put them together, it becomes much too complicated and becomes much too inefficient. So, right, and people will do it over a period of time. So, at certain junctures, you have to just review the whole thing and say, how do we get to this place without making it so difficult, but fulfilling the full intent of what we're trying to achieve.
We're at a point we have to take a break.
Yes.
When we come back, we'll continue our discussions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Սիրելի բարեկամներ, գարշ ցաթարեմը հետո պիտի վերադառնանք մեր հայդակրին։
I'm making sure that we respond to Washington, D.C. We know that on so many of the critical issues, healthcare, immigration, job creation, financing of education, Washington, D.C., at least the voices that you hear today, are not as supportive. I am running for governor to work on those very issues. We want to make sure that everybody understands that the next generation of California is going to be better than what we had today.
And like many immigrant families who came here to Boyle Heights, John Chiang's family also came to the United States to look for the American dream. So his story is very familiar with many families here, and that's why it's a great honor, and it's so fitting that here we are on this morning as John kicks off his year-long road trip to become the next governor of the state of California.
Hello, I'm Congressman Ted Lieu. I'm doing my first Twitter live event with my friend John Chiang, who I am endorsing for California governor. He has been one of the most effective elected officials I have ever known. When he served on the Board of Equalization, he sponsored more bills into law than any other member in California history. When he was state controller, he helped save billions of dollars for California. And now as state treasurer, he shepherded our economy to now the 6th largest in the world.
The reason why I think John is going to be excellent for that is his fiscal guardianship and his values. This is the two ingredients. You need to believe in what we can do, how we can make it a better world, but you also need to be willing to do the math and know that you can sustain the funding for making it a better world.
You're the mayor of Fremont.
Yes.
You really thoughtful responses on how you're trying to design all of this so that people could have a high standard of living, good quality of life.
Around the corner from here, when we talked about affordable housing, we're going to be putting in 500 units of senior housing. And that's something we're seeing is all of us are getting older.
Yes.
And my son jokingly says that we're building my future housing. But it's 500 units of active living. And we're seeing a lot of our baby boomer generation get involved.
While we all have that big vision and big dreams, I work on the how on things, how to make all of those things possible. People go, John, it's numbers, right? But we know that money counts. We know that universal health care. We have to figure out how do we pay for safe, affordable health care for all. When we talk about taking down student loans, when we talk about making higher education more accessible, when we talk about make sure that we can put a roof over everybody's head. So that's what I care about.
It's not the what. We're Democrats. We believe in the same thing. We believe in gay rights. We believe in every child getting a great education. It's the how. I was the Democrat who stood up and challenged Governor Schwarzenegger when he had the wrong budget, because who pays the price? The kids did.
You know, really the things that characterize modern California agriculture and its prosperity for rural areas, you have to have that groundwater to get us through droughts. And to make sure you have the groundwater available during droughts, you've got to bank some water away during wet years like we're having this year.
I think we're really looking for leadership. We're looking for someone we can believe in.
We're located on the Pacific Rim, where the world is growing. So we're going to send a clear and powerful signal to the rest of the United States of America. This is how you succeed. We're the #1 economic engine.
People ask me, what do we need for our next governor? We need a strong progressive who knows how to balance the checkbook. That's John Chiang. And as progressives, we have a special concern. The onus is on us. We have got to have a governor that can manage the state's affairs well. There's nobody better out of 37 million people than John Chiang. Thank you.
All of us have huge responsibilities in the era of President Trump and with the Congress that we have today. I'm so hopeful, and why I'm running for governor is that I want to send a resounding signal throughout the United States of America. If you want to know how it's done, look at California.
And that's how we're going to show everybody else California truly is that magnificent state. It is the Golden State.
Սեր պայգամներ մեր այսօրվա հյուրն է John Chiang-ը, որ նահանգին treasurer-ն է եւ գվայել է as ընդրություն. Mr. Chiang, we have only barely a little bit over 2 months left in the election, and different polls showing you different spots. But in order to stay in the game, you have to be the #1 or #2, right?
Yes.
According to our system. Are you going to do anything different? Are you going to be doing a different campaign for the next, a little over 2 months?
Well, we all are. We're all going to spend money, right?
Well, besides spending money, are you going to be tougher going after the front runner?
Oh, we're going to make clear contrasts. Our records are very different. They're different on financial performance. As I pointed out in the earlier segment, when Sacramento was irresponsible with taxpayer dollars, when they weren't balancing the budget, I called the Sacramento politicians on that. Right? I'm encouraging others to look at the records of the other candidates. How did they perform? Did they leave their cities in debt? What was the condition of the healthcare payments? Did they start paying down those healthcare payments, or did they kick the can down the road? Did they pay minimum on the credit card? I'm one who says we have to be adults in Sacramento. If we have a bill, we don't pass that. We don't give that to our kids and our grandkids, because that's not what my parents did. That's not what you do. You accept that responsibility.
What is the mood when you go around? Let's say, what are the people are telling you? Basically, what do you hear from them?
People are very passionate about
the election.
I think there's a big frame of President Trump. Many are very.
Trump plays a big role, even though he lost the state clearly about 4 million votes.
Yes. They're very concerned on the work that you're doing. How do you protect the gains that were made under Obamacare, whether you're an individual or whether you're a business. The monies that have come under the Medi-Cal expansion, the coverage, we reduced the number of uninsured in California by nearly half. We still have, 2.9 million Californians that do not have coverage, but that number may grow if we get less federal support.
Well, under Obamacare, the numbers came down. It used to be over 7 million. It came down to 2.9, as you pointed out. I mean,
Very
it was
dramatic.
good for our business from that aspect, but I'm thinking about the state's benefit, not just individually, just to help my business.
Yeah. As you point out, it's good when people have insurance, right?
Of course.
You don't want people going to county USC or the other
Clogging
facilities.
the system, basically.
Right, and then not getting care until the very end where it's very expensive.
More expensive, yes.
And their health is at risk.
Right, that's correct. What are your other plans besides, fiscally, you're, as you said, you're very, you're watching every dollar the state has, being the treasurer. Immigration, I know that's a federal issue, but what's your views on it?
Well, we have to protect it. As we pointed out, this state was built on the backs of immigrants. We have undocumented labor, but part of that is the failure of the federal government. We invited the Mexicans during World War II to come and work in the fields, and unfortunately, because the politicians can't come to agreement, they're still in limbo. So part of our pathway going forward is involving a lot of the good conservative, hardworking people in agriculture who are advocating for a legalized system for the undocumented farm workers to make sure that there is a process.
So you'll be in favor of giving them permanent residency to undocumented aliens?
Put them on a pathway to citizenship.
Citizenship.
Yes.
Okay.
Or some permanent work status, whatever people come to agreement on.
What are some of the other social issues like Medi-Cal or welfare system? Are you in favor of these programs, or trying to change people's behavior, maybe finally put them into jobs as opposed to people being on welfare or government assistance?
Well, we want to make sure that individuals are getting education. This also applies to the correctional system.
Right.
Right. We want to rehabilitate individuals. Frankly, the first step is to make sure that they don't get there. Right. So one of those programs when I mentioned,
of course, to prevent
education.
it from happening to begin with.
Exactly right. You want early childhood education. You want child care so that their parents can go to work. Right. Put a roof over their head. Make sure that the kids are taken care of. But yes, we want to make sure that everybody gets a world-class education and that they understand that they have to have a lifelong education today in the world's global economy. It is so competitive that this world and what people are going to be working in, what fields are going to be working in, is going to look very different, right? Mm-hmm. Healthcare, decades ago looked very different than it is today. It's also global, right? Some people are going off to India. Some individuals that shared the same homeland as my parents go back to Taiwan for certain procedures. And so we need to make sure that we can educate Californians and Americans to compete in the 21st century.
Of course. I mean, we have to keep these jobs in the United States as opposed to sending these jobs overseas. I mean, It's very important for us to have. How about education? What is your plan for higher education?
So I have a website with my education plan. It's johnchung.com, but first we need to make sure that, I want to make sure that we put the appropriate investment in education. We have to work on the teacher shortage. One of the things that we have to do is I'm going to push, as I mentioned earlier, for transparency and accountability, and I'm going to really focus on school site leadership, right? The principal, the assistant principal, the teachers, the school employees, what are they doing to partner with parents, right? Because the number one factor outside of the classroom for a child's academic success is the participation by the parent. Very important that they work together. And then, the state has a dashboard. I would make sure that if kids aren't progressing, right, what's the school doing? In the classroom, are the teachers being well led by the principals, by the vice principals, by the school board? Are they well trained? Are they, well supported? We want to make sure that there's continuing professional development for the teachers so that the kids are getting the best opportunities possible.
What is your dream as a politician, as a leader? Where do you think the state is moving? In the right direction? And where do you want the state to be, let's say, for the next generation?
I want to be the very best, right? We're California. My dream is, one of the things that I do very differently is I want to make sure none of us live in poverty.
Exactly.
So I want every community to be one where people have terrific memories, terrific opportunities. And part of this is, right, I'm not one, even though I'm a Democrat, I'm not the one who says that government has to do it all. Right? The private sector is absolutely critical. It's just well-intentioned local individuals. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. We moved from a lower middle class to middle class, but it was great for me. My mom, took us to church. She took us to volunteer for the developmentally disabled. There were just a lot of good people who made, despite the discrimination my family faced, gave me an opportunity to really enjoy most of my childhood.
We're almost at the end, which went so fast. The last question that I have is regarding the Armenian American community. Being an Armenian American, and there's obviously some issues that are universal to all of us, which is the Armenian genocide and Armenia. What's your views on that?
I go out every year and participate. Participate in the marches to the Turkish consulate, right, to protest the denial. When I was in Israel and we met with the Israeli IDF, I asked them, about the relationship with Turkey, right? Because this is a universal humanitarian issue. Do we recognize our fellow brother and sister? In the faith, we're all brothers and sisters, and so an act of hatred, the genocide against one impacts all of us. And so those tragedies that happened in 1915 in that era still resonates because you have that denial. And so we have to come together to make sure that we bring truth to those who won't recognize
the genocide.
Well,
Turkey still refuses till today.
The falsehood,
yeah,
right? The
exactly,
falsehood.
Exactly. We're at the end. Any particular wishes to our community besides telling my community, please vote for John? He's a great guy. Not only guy, he's a great plan for the state. And
thank you.
So proud to know you. I'm going to vote for you as well as my mom.
Oh, thank you.
She's giving you our best support to you, and I wish you success, hopefully.
Well, I wish you and your mom and all of us the blessings. So we're incredibly fortunate. As I said, we're all brothers and sisters. We're Californians. We're in this together. So right. It's been an incredible privilege to spend time with you and just to be a Californian with you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much. Սիրելի բարեկամներ, այսօրվա մեր հայդակիրը կպագենք, բայց պագերան առաջ նախ շնորհակալություն բացնենք բարոն Ջան Չենգին, նահանգի treasurer-ն է եւ Կալիֆոռնիա նահանգին տեխնացուն է, supporter-ը իրենց, մեր բարեկամն է եւ հայ կաղութին մդրիմ ընկերն է։ Շնորհակալ եմ։
Հաղորդման հովանավոր Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital